Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the G Unit and thanks for joining me for episode 4 of my GBS Zero build. In the last episode we were doing a mock fit, a trial build to make sure that everything fitted in. So there's nothing worse than getting everything painted up perfectly and then find you've got to chop it about to get it to fit in. So we've done a full mock build, we got all the way to the engine. So we've just got front suspension, steering rack and radiator to get right to the front of the car. And we've still got some of the drivetrain on that side to finish off. So let's have a recap of where we got up to. So where we got stuck on the last episode at the rear end, we couldn't assemble the passenger side rear drive shafts because the hub didn't have any wheel bearings in it. I'd taken them out to measure it to try and find out what hub this actually was. So as you've probably guessed by now, I never throw anything away, and I was managed to find the old wheel bearings that I took out to get lots of measurements from. And as it turns out, the Sierras, the Mark 1 and Mark 2s, all seem to share the same wheel bearings, from the 1.6s, the 2 litres, the 2.3s, the 2.8s, the XR4x4s. It only seems the Cosworths are larger, so they're very easy to get hold of. I took some measurements and the outer diameter was 68 millimeters. The inners were 41 and it had a width of 21 millimeters. So I was able to Google that and find some sizes, and they're very readily available. I managed to get one through this week and found out that they all do line up. That's the correct size, the correct widths. All the oil seals are the same size, so that's all great news. That's going to work for what I've got. The hub nuts are 41 millimeters on the Sierra, so I had to get myself a new hub nut socket. So that came through, so I can get all these together. Something I wasn't happy about on the last episode was the driveshaft CV bolts. The inner ones were the original Ford Torx ones, and the outer ones were just some hex nuts that were put in and didn't really fit that nice. So I had a little look online and found a full set of Sierra CV bolts, all newer style Allen key ones. So I got them sent through, and the company is actually called Sierras Are Us. So never have I been more confident buying some Sierra parts than someone called Sierras Are Us. So while this is off, and while the bearings are out, I think I'll give this a shot blast to clean it up, because you never want to shot blast anything with bearings in it already, because no matter how much you tape it up, shot blast will always get in and ruin your bearings. So it's all best to shot blast it all first and then assemble it after. So let's go and do that. This is my shot blasting cabinet. It makes light work of getting all this rust off. We've got aluminium oxide abrasive in it, 60 to 80 grit. So we'll get that in and get it cleaned up. And all done. I think I might have to look at getting a new nozzle for that, because that took way longer than it should have done. But that's got all the rust off, so let's give it a quick prime up. I've just put a bit of extra primer on it for now to protect it, but I'll be painting these black when we do the final build. So now it's time to get the bearings back in. I've been meaning to get a press for the workshop. It's something I haven't got, but I haven't got one yet. So for now, we've just got the big vise. So let's press these bearings in. Well, that confirms it. The next purchase for the G unit is definitely going to be a hydraulic press. But I've got the inner races all in, and that's the part the bearing actually sits on. So now the taper rollers sit in them. And that's the bearings all in with the new dust shields as well. It's always a good idea to keep the old bearings around because they're the perfect size for pressing the new pieces in. But now we're ready to get it on the car. That's this hub all on. The centre hub nut is a left-hand thread on the passenger side, so that's all done up. I haven't put the new hub bolt on. I'll put that on when we do the final build. So I've just put the old one on for now. Next up, get the drive shaft in. These are the new bolts that we've got for them, because it's got the original Torx, the Ford Sierra bolts on the inside, old grotty things, but it's just got some M8s, which are a bit difficult to do up on the outside. That's just how they were on the Locust. So we'll get these new bolts on and get the shaft in. And all assembled. Drive shafts in. The two-wheel drive Sierra Cosworth brakes are on and fitted. All the new hardware for the CVs is on. Here's the grotty old ones and the incorrect outers. And I put a shouldered bolt on the top hub bolt as well, because that was a threaded one all the way through. But that's all lined up nicely. So I think we can call the rear end complete. So that's the rear end all buttoned up. Time to make a start on the front. The front end setup's quite similar to the rear. It's a double wishbone. It uses the Ford mechanicals and wheel bearings and brakes. It's got a Mark II Escort steering rack, and GBS make their own wishbones and cycle wings for the fronts. So let's get this all together. There's the suspension all on, everything lined up okay and everything bolted on. It's the same situation as I had at the rear. I've got lots of washers left over in the pot, and as you can see, there's the gaps between the bushes and the things again. I think it's because when you weld, even when things are in a jig, when you weld up the arms, there's always a bit of movement, especially as arms that long. So they just leave it a bit better, because the last thing you want is to have it too tight and not fit in. But overall, I'm happy. The steering's in, front hubs are all on, and the cycle wings. So let's carry on. Now the steering rack's on, we can put the Sierra steering column in. And because it's got a long nose, GBS make an extender to reach the rack. I've also got the pedals and the master cylinder. So I've not had any of these on yet, so we'll have to see how they go. That's the pedals, master cylinder, steering column all on. Pedals all bolted straight in. Everything was spaced out already, so that's a lot easier for me. Looks like my wheelwood master cylinder for the clutch will fit straight on from the Locust, so that's great news. And all the other bits came with the GBS, so they all went together. There's a bit of a strange setup to bolt the column on. It looks like a big hole, so I'm not sure what's got to go in there. I'll have to look that up. But judging by responses of the lathe videos last week, if I do have to make up a little bush, that'll be great news for everyone. The steering column is down and goes all the way to the rack at the front. And I've just put the front brakes on as well. They're just 2-litre Sierra brakes on the front, vented. They're all on and bolted up. But apart from the prop shaft, all mechanicals are now in, and it's looking very much like a car again. So let's see what's next. And that is it, down on its wheels. There was no reason whatsoever to get it back down on the ground at this stage in the build, other than total job satisfaction, knowing the fact that it can. It's down on its own suspension, its own steering, all on its own bearings. There's nothing holding it up. All the steering is connected at the front. Everything works really nicely. So we can now announce that it is officially a rolling chassis. The rear end's all bolted together, all the shafts are in, the diff is in, the front suspension is all together, the brakes, nothing's binding up. So I just wanted to see that everything cleared, everything clears the wheels, the brakes fit in there nicely. When I first got the kit, I wasn't too decided on the wheels. They were okay, but I wasn't really thrilled with them. They are starting to grow on me, especially now they're on the car. So let me know what you think about the wheels. I think they might stay for now, but we'll see. I think we'll wrap this episode up here on a high. In the next one, we'll be building the front engine mounts, and once the engine and gearbox is all in its final resting position, I can start making the exhaust manifold for the other side, the bit that didn't clear the chassis rails. After that, we'll be moving on to trying out all the wiring, the plumbing, the pipes, the fuel lines, everything that needs to go in, still on the dry build. So when I take it off and paint everything, there won't be no messing around. Everything will be cut to length, everything will be in the right place, and we can paint everything up and get it all back in. If this is your first time to the channel and you've enjoyed what you've been seeing, make sure you check out the previous episode, because there's been a lot of work going into this so far. And then definitely be sure to subscribe. All the people that are now regular viewers, I really appreciate that you've been sharing and moving the videos on to all sorts of places. There's only so many people that I actually know, so the fact that videos have been climbing so rapidly, that shows that you've all been doing your part, and I can't thank you enough for that. The more the channel grows, the more the views go up, the more bigger projects we can do in the future. So hopefully we'll continue this way. So make sure you show all your friends, share it with everyone else, and be sure to like the videos. But until next time, just make sure you have fun.